Greetings all. It is officially October, which means it is officially Halloween time. And as you can see, I am in full alien garb. Now, I did once have someone ask me why not just be normal for Halloween? Because obviously I'm anything but any other time of year. I just can't do it. Halloween gives me the excuse to be extra. So, here I am, extraterrestrials. And I know it's been a while, and I know we've had to talk about some things we didn't want to talk about, some lawsuits, and just all kinds of icky, gross things that we don't want having anything to do with our beloved video games. But now, let's just put that aside, and it's horrible. We can agree it's horrible. We all know my thoughts on that. Anyone who's seen the last video knows just what I think of all that. And we're gonna get back to talking about the actual game. You know, the game that we love. The game that we love, that we still play, and that is always going to be a part of us because it was a huge part of our childhood and we grew up with these characters. And yeah, we're going to talk about these characters. We're going to talk about what in the world is going on with Sylvanas and Anduin and these cinematics that I did have videos for each cinematic and I was working on those, and yeah, no, this whole thing happened, and you know what, we're just gonna, I may at some point put those up, I don't know, but right now I just want to talk about the future of Sylvanas and Anduin, and what cutscenes we didn't get, what may have happened behind the scenes. It's like we're getting bits and pieces of their conversation. And I said before, I felt like we just kind of cut off before the end of a very crucial agreement between the two of them. In the cinematic where Sylvanas is having a hard time deciding how to move forward, whether she's going to force Anduin to submit or whether she's going to be able to convince him. And in my opinion, I had said it looked like she couldn't do it, and I still maintain that she didn't do it. That perhaps what happened after the camera cuts off, if you will, after that scene, what we didn't get was her basically having a breakdown, or maybe what some might consider an emotional breakthrough, where she maybe throws the sword down and just decides, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to be that, and maybe even says some things, some revealing things to Anduin that ultimately does end up persuading him. He just wants to help everyone. He's just so... Ugh. He's one of those. He's got a serious hero complex. He wants to rescue everyone and save everyone and make everything okay. And I can just see him, if Sylvanas had an emotional breakthrough, totally caving and saying, okay, well, I want to help you, and what was done to you is wrong, and you're still the Ranger General, and you did all this for your people, and you sacrificed yourself, and you fought this battle all alone all this time, let me help you. And basically saying, okay, what do I need to do? At which point, I can see her saying, well, you need to give your body over to the jailer, be his puppet. And maybe they had a plan to play along as his puppet, but I'm sure there were some things Sylvanas picked up along the way, some pointers, if you will, that she could have offered him to maintain his own will, to resist the jailer so that the jailer can't take him over completely. I'm sure that they made an agreement, you know, she won't let any harm come to anyone else, she'll free him, something. I'm also sure that neither one of them expected the jailer to basically make Sylvanas again, give her back the missing part of her. And I can see that playing a crucial role in the future. I can see that changing Sylvanas's fate, if you will, but I don't see it changing her as a person. I don't truly believe that she was ever anything but Sylvanas. It's hard to explain. I said in one video that I thought the emotion that she might have been left with was love, and since love encompasses a whole range of emotions, that she's actually more complete, more dynamic as a character than other Forsaken. Other Forsaken would have been pretty much a one-tone, one-personality kind of thing, but I don't think Sylvanas was ever lessened by what Arthas did to her. I think it only added to her character. It added pain and suffering more so than what she had even felt before losing her brother. I think it gave her something more. So now she has that part of her that was taken. I don't think that that's going to change her, but it might amplify her, and it might persuade her a little differently. Instead of the rage and the pain being in the forefront of her motivations, it might instead be that same Silver Moon general who gave her life for her people. It might be that she now doesn't just throw lives away, but at the same time, I also maintain that she was throwing lives away because she knew where they were going. They were going to the Shadowlands, and it didn't matter. So it's really hard to say where that's going to take her as far as her personality, but I don't think Sylvanas' personality is going to change. I don't think she is going to have some sort of redemption or awakening or anything of that nature. But I do think it might give her hope. That's something that Bliz has been harping on for a while now, hope, and her not having it. And I do think it has to do with her as an individual, as a woman, as in someone who saw her future, her life, her potential all taken from her. Now she has that back. So think about it this way. Sylvanas had her whole life ahead of her. And she was vain, and she was pretty, and we think she was in love, maybe with Nathanos, maybe there was somebody else we didn't know about. I had said I thought she might be a mother. There's always the possibility that maybe she was intending to be a mother and had that opportunity stolen from her, or that she was a mother in a sense. She was preparing to be a mother because she was expecting, and that would just be even more horrific in my opinion too. Can you imagine Sylvanas having to know that she was carrying a child of her own when she was killed by Arthas, and having all that hope stolen from her, all her future, all her child's future, all of that stolen from her? So to have that part of her returned, I don't think it's going to make her capable. I don't know how to put this. I don't think she's going to be able to conceive a child. I don't think it's going to change her body. I think she's still undead. But Blizzard has an opportunity to do all kinds of things with this. So if somehow it not only restored the part of her that was taken, the part of her soul that was taken, but if somehow it revived her in a way, made her mortal again, then yeah, they could go that direction. They could go that route. And if she has hope, she's not only going to see that potential there and be more cautious, she's going to value her life again. And that may change her plans. If she was willing to sacrifice herself because it didn't matter and she was willing to do whatever it took to get Anduin back, now we have to consider, well, what if she's not? What if now she has hope for herself? She is seeing that she has a potential future that she thought was stolen from her. What if she ends up breaking whatever promise she and Anduin may have made and ends up betraying him? What if she decides it's not worth losing my life again for these people who, when I gave my life the first time, turned their backs on me in the first place? So there's that potential. But I don't think that's the direction Blizzard's going to go. I think we're going to see bits and pieces of the story that we didn't get before, as we play through the remaining chapters of this expansion. I think we're going to see a dynamic relationship build between Sylvanas and Anduin. And dare I say, there may be some Sylvanas Anduin shippers out there who are just already planning the wedding. There certainly is a lot of indication that Sylvanas and Anduin have a deeper relationship than what we're getting, what we're seeing. I don't want it to be a romantic one. I would rather it be, a professional one. But maybe Sylvanas rescues Anduin and there's this whole, he wanted to be the hero, but she ends up being the hero thing, and I don't know. Maybe they rescue each other. There's so many ways that Blizzard can make a Sylvanas Anduin whole thing for all those shippers out there. Just, yeah, that's totally possible. But I'm hoping that what we're going to see isn't a Sylvanas redemption and isn't a Sylvanas Anduin love story, but rather a vindication, rather justice for Sylvanas. I want to see justice for Sylvanas because she, in my opinion, has never needed any sort of redemption. She didn't do anything wrong. The wrong was done to her. So what I want to see is Sylvanas get her justice. Ultimately, her justice wasn't even robbed from her when Arthas was killed. That wouldn't have been justice. Even if she had been the one to kill Arthas, that still wouldn't have been justice. She's never had the opportunity for justice until now, because we all know the jailer is the one who's been pulling the strings. Arthas didn't do anything wrong. He was... Well, okay. There were decisions he made that he was in the wrong. They were his decisions leading up to whatever he became later. I don't think the calling of Stratholme was him doing anything wrong. I've never thought that. But I do think that it was a turning point for him because he felt judged by everyone else and then basically said, okay, I don't care anymore, whatever it takes. And then he started doing some wrongs. And what I think his biggest wrong was, of course, was taking up Frostmourne and Once he took that sword, though, I don't really think he had as much control of his actions as we're led to believe. Just, we're led to think that he had enough control that his initial choices were his and that he slowly became corrupted. I think the moment he picked up Frostmourne, any sense of self that he really truly had was gone. Frostmourne took the part of his soul capable of feeling compassion, remorse, empathy, and what was left was Arthas, who could still think for himself and make decisions, but who didn't have the feelings and emotional capacity to weigh those decisions. So, yeah, he did some wrongs, but he is not the person that ultimately did the major wrong to Sylvanas. Yes, he's the one who killed her, and yes, he did it because she ticked him off, and some part of him regretted that. And I think some part of him just, you deserve it because everything you put me through. But he is not the ultimate evil. We have established that this was all preordained by the jailer. So, I don't really want Arthas to have a redemption arc either, just more of a let it go kind of thing. Basically, closure. Illidan needed a redemption arc, and he got it. There's his closure, we think. Unless something happens with that bright red star in the sky and there's some more Illidan stuff later, who knows. But he got his closure. Arthas needs a goodbye, we've loved you for everything, we forgive you for everything, rest in peace sort of closure. And Sylvanas needs justice. Not redemption. She needs justice. It is her turn for all of it to come back to her. And you might be thinking, well, all the evil she did, she needs to pay for that. No, when I say all of it to come back for her, I mean, if you were to make a pie chart if you need to, I don't know, but if you were to take all of the bad that happened to her, even prior to her death at the hands of Arthas, if you were to take everything, her whole life story, and weigh it out, which is what the Arbiter was supposed to do, and maybe there was someone prior to the Arbiter, someone more capable than a machine, who was supposed to do that, but if you were to take her entire life and weigh it all out, all of these great, wonderful things that she did, the person she was, self-sacrificing, nurturing, everything that deserves respect, and weigh it against the decisions she made after everything had been done to her. And honestly, I don't think all of those decisions were made out of pain and out of anger. I think some of those decisions were made out of pure logic. Like, she had information that she knew and went with it. So, I'm not seeing her as a big baddie. I've never seen her as a big baddie. She doesn't need a redemption, and she doesn't need any sort of forgiveness, really. But she needs justice. And honestly, I think had she gotten justice in the first place, way back when, there were a lot of things that maybe she would have done differently. And I don't think she just needs justice for herself. I think she needs justice for everyone that she's lost. She's still feeling the pain of loss, and not just for herself. She's feeling the loss of everyone who was manipulated by the forces in the Shadowlands, and possibly other forces we don't even know. She is feeling the loss of Vol'jin. She is feeling the loss of Varian Wrynn. She is feeling the loss of her family from her becoming what she became, and that connection with her sisters and that trust and everything they had taken from her. She is feeling all of these losses. And then look at what she did after becoming Sylvanas, the Dark Lady. She took in the Forsaken as her own new people, and she was just the nurturing leader. She doesn't want to be a leader. She's fine with being a warrior, a fighter, a protector. She doesn't want to play politics, and that's just not her thing. So she's feeling their loss too, finding out what they would become in death, what their fate was. I would count that as feeling a loss, feeling a need to get justice for her people. So it's not just justice for her that she needs. She wants the world to be just. She says so in her big, long first speech with Anduin. She's talking about justice. And even at first, Anduin can't believe that she's fighting for justice. So maybe, somewhere along the lines, if she had an emotional breakdown after Anduin basically pushed those buttons, those Sylvanas PTSD buttons of, well, if you want me to submit, you're gonna have to do to me what was done to you, you know. Low blow, Anduin, low blow. Maybe, if she did, in fact, finally drop her shields, if you will, just if the walls came crashing down and everything came flowing out, maybe Anduin did finally understand, yes, she is fighting for justice. And depending on how that conversation went, how her breakdown may have gone, maybe he even understood that it wasn't just for her people, that it was for Vol'jin and for Varian Wrynn, his father. Maybe there's a deeper conversation happening there. Something would have had to have really struck a nerve with him in order to agree to become this vessel for the greatest evil, as they seem to think he is, and as the jailer may very well be. There's always a greater evil in World of Warcraft. There's always a bigger, badder guy. But for the sake of argument, this currently is the greatest evil. He's dominating lives and souls and death. Like, if we're talking freedom and we're talking the souls and the afterlives, like, maybe we can't do anything about our lives and what we are in life and what happens to us in life, but if nothing else, death should be the ultimate freedom, and he's messing with that. He's dominating that. Our souls, our death, our afterlives. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to top that. In my mind, the way I feel about freedom, it would be pretty hard to come up with something worse than that. So, yeah, I can see Anduin having to have some real, true motivation behind allowing himself to be used by the jailer. And if that motivation, if his motivation is, hey, the jailer is the reason your father died that day on the Broken Shore. The jailer is doing this with your father's soul. This is where your father is in the Shadowlands. Who knows what Sylvanas may know and may have shared? Who knows what that conversation held, because we didn't get to see it. But if there's a romantic side to it, if they form a deep enough understanding of one another, a deep enough connection that they have those sorts of feelings for each other later, heaven forbid, well, At least we know that somebody will be fighting for Sylvanas. Seriously, I don't think it's fair if we're forgiving everyone else along the way. We're forgiving Illidan, we're forgiving Uther, we're forgiving Arthas. Well, why not forgive Sylvanas? She is a protector and a nurturer and a warrior and did so many things for us. Why are we vilifying her? I mean, that does sort of make her the ultimate underdog, which I feel for. It's hard to make those decisions that you know are the right decisions when you know everyone is going to hate you for it and you're going to be made the bad guy. But the fact that she does it anyway because she's doing what needs to be done, that's what I love about her. So, I don't know what Bliz is going to do with her in the future. I'm looking forward to the book. I think the reason why they've been playing it so close to the vest is because of the book, and maybe there's some things in the book that they didn't want to give us spoilers. I know a lot of people out there don't like when we're getting the story outside of sources other than the game because they feel like it makes the game incohesive. They feel like we're not getting the whole story in game and that it doesn't do well for gameplay and storytelling in game. But who isn't going to read the Sylvanas book? Come on. Even if you've never read any of the other World of Warcraft books, even the Chronicles, even if you've never read those, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to read the Sylvanas when it releases. I'm betting that within the first week, everyone will have read that thing 2 and 3 times. Because it's Sylvanas. And I can't be the only one who has basically stuck with World of Warcraft all this time for primarily Sylvanas. Could I walk away from it? I think over the years I've outgrown it some. I'm not worried about if I go for a month or 2 at a time without logging it at all. I'm just okay with being a casual, occasional player. And I think if it weren't for Sylvanas and her continued storyline and that sort of thing, I think I probably would have retired from World of Warcraft, I don't know, probably about the time I lost my previous channel. Yeah, that hurt. It hurts to be at the bottom again, like the very, very bottom all over again. But, well, what it comes down to now is just a pure love of that character. There are characters in games and in other stories, books, games, media, television shows, movies, whatever, that people form an attachment to because of the rapport we have with them, because of what they represent, because their stories resonate with us in some way. And Sylvanas has always been one of those characters for me. Sylvanas and Rose from Legend of Dragoon, if that tells you anything. And I think having those characters as female role models, because Lord knows, I had brothers. I didn't have a lot of female friends. What few female friends I had, well, they spent a whole lot of time telling me how I make them feel stupid and how I make them insecure because they have body image issues and I'm thin. Well, I'm sorry, at 10 years old I weighed 47 pounds. I grew up in foster homes. I was lucky to get a meal once every 3 weeks. So I'm sorry that my metabolic issues make other women feel insecure because we all think we have to look skeletal thin. I feel insecure that I don't have the voluptuous curves that other women have. I would love to be a sexy, feminine, curvy woman. I don't feel feminine. So it's a matter of perception. I did not have strong, empowering, encouraging female role models. What I had were role models like Sylvanas and like Rose. And I had an idea in my head of the kind of woman I wanted to be. And that idea was based off of those characters. The strong, nurturing, protecting characters who did so behind the scenes. They weren't seeking attention. If anything, they were trying to avoid it. And they were doing things for others with no real regard for themselves. They were taking all the pain inward. These characters resonate with people who, in real life, have struggles that they don't speak about and that they put to the side so that they can direct their energy towards making sure that others don't go through those struggles. So there are a lot of people out there I know that understand exactly what I'm saying and that can see Sylvanas as a nurturing, caring, strong woman who deserves justice and who deserves respect, and hopefully her character is well represented and we don't see Bliz completely unravel her character. Considering who is the author of the book, I think we'll be fine. I trust Christie completely. I'm looking forward to finding out what her future is, even if that future includes a romantic relationship with Anduin. I just don't see how you can make it work. I'm sure someone at Bliz could find a way to make this a plausible thing, but I don't think Anduin's good enough for her. I'm just gonna say it. I don't think Anduin's good enough for her. All I know is that it's October, it's Halloween. I'm going to enjoy Halloween both in-game and out. I'm looking forward to the Sylvanas book. I am looking forward to what happens with the storyline. I am not letting anything else get to me. Everything else is irrelevant. I'm just going to enjoy what I love about my game, and I'm crossing my fingers that whatever Bliz has in store for Sylvanas, hopefully all of those out there who were not Sylvanas loyalists and who changed sides or whatever, like, hopefully you come back to the Sylvanas side of things. I don't know. But till next time, stay extra, my fellow terrestrials.